Good evening, classmates. I'm here to talk about the impact of Christianity and the founding of America. And when I refer to the founding of America, I'm referring both to the founding of the European colonies in the New World by the three big powers in the 17th and 16th century, being the British, the French, and the Spanish, and also by the founding of the actual country of the United States of America later on towards the end of the 18th century. Christianity had a major impact on the founding of European colonies in the New World. One of the major reasons for colonization was, in fact, to spread Christianity, in particular the brand of Christianity being that had been adopted by the European power in question, which in general for France and Spain was Catholicism, and in England it was a mixture of various Protestant faiths by the 17th century. We like to study the Puritans in New England when studying the founding of America, but in fact the French and Spanish had beaten the English to the New World generally by a century. And both of those countries were predominantly Catholic, and in particular Spain was entirely Catholic. The Spanish had settled the American Southwest. They had made efforts to baptize and convert the Native American populations there to Catholicism with limited success. The Spanish were tended to be fairly heavy-handed in dealing with the Native American populations, perhaps the most heavy-handed of the European powers. The Spanish authorities could be fairly brutal to the Native Americans, even when Spanish priests and friars who had been brought over with the Spanish settlers, even when they had protested against such brutalities, they were often ignored, since Spanish civil authority had the ultimate say in those cases. Although the reverse did occur as well, by the 18th century, Christianity was firmly established in California by a Franciscan friar, Junipero Serra, who had some rather strict rules dealing with his Native American converts. Those who left his missions were forcibly returned back to their fairly harsh working conditions and things of that nature, even when the Spanish civil authorities had warned Junipero that he was being rather heavy-handed, as this was the reverse of the earlier days of colonization. In France, France was much more enlightened than France, particularly in dealing with its colonies. The French had established colonies in Canada, which are also largely Roman Catholic colonies, but the French were generally more easygoing with the Native American populations and made honest attempts to convert them. One such example, we find the writings of Jacques Cartier, an early famous French explorer in Canada, that Noel found that natives living without God and religion like brute beasts. Thereupon I concluded in my private judgment that I should be committing a great sin if I did not make it in my business to devise some means of bringing them to the knowledge of God. This was generally considered to be a fairly honest statement by Jacques Cartier, and the French did make serious efforts, also with limited success, to convert their Native American subjects living in their colonial territories to Christianity. The major Protestant power in Europe by this time was England, which came fairly late to the game in colonization, but they did come on strong and establish colonies along the eastern seaboard of North America. Particularly, the first English colonies were from Protestants, particularly Episcopalians in Virginia, and Chief Justice Earl Warren quoted the Virginia Charter of 1606, which was one of the earliest documents written in regards to the British colonization of North America. the Virginia Charter states, the propagating of the Christian religion to such people, referring to the Native Americans, as yet live in darkness and miserable ignorance of the true knowledge and worship of God. And also the baptism of Pocahontas, the famous Indian princess in Virginia, shortly thereafter by the English, seemed to confirm this as one of the honest goals of the British North America. This, of course, predates the Puritans in New England by about 15 years. Also, as I mentioned, in regards to the founding of America in particular, as we read in Robert Middlecoff's The Glorious Cause about the American Revolution, the heavy influx of Scotch-Irish Protestant Presbyterians in the 1740s and the years prior to that had a significant impact on what would become the United States, because this group provided the basis for a Protestant British but still non-Episcopalian, non-English basis that was had tendencies to rebel against the English Episcopalian authorities, that being the monarchy and the monarch's regents in the royal governors of the North American colonies. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I look forward to watching yours. Bye now.